Welcome back to Travel Thoughtfully, the podcast, where we help you travel smarter so you can focus on the experience, not the planning. I'm Karen Hester, travel advisor and founder of Travel Thoughtfully. Last time, we talked about travel trends and how travel is becoming more intentional, less about checking boxes and more about creating meaningful experiences. So today, we're building on that. We're talking about how to invest in your travel experience so you get the most value from every trip. Because once you start thinking about travel differently, the next question becomes, how do I actually make decisions that support the experience I want? And that's where this idea of investment comes in. When people hear the word budget, it can feel restrictive, like, what do I have to cut? What can I not do? But that's not how I want you to think about it. A travel budget is really about clarity. It's deciding ahead of time what matters most to me on this trip. Because two people can spend the exact same amount of money and have completely different experiences. One feels relaxed, fulfilled, aligned. The other feels rushed, like something was missing. And usually the difference is how they spent their money. So let's talk about what that actually looks like. When I say investing in your travel experience, I don't mean spending more just to spend more. I mean alignment. It's asking, what kind of pace do I want? What kind of environment helps me relax? What do I want to remember from this trip? Because those answers should guide your decisions. For example, some people invest in location because being in the heart of a destination changes everything. Others invest in experiences, guided tours, unique activities, things that add depth. And some invest in convenience, nonstop flights, smooth transfers, fewer headaches. There's no one right answer. It just depends on what matters most to you. And this is where I want to pause for a second. The cheapest option is not always the best value. And again, this isn't about spending more. It's about understanding the trade-offs. Because when something is cheaper, there's usually a reason. It might be location, timing, service, overall experience. And sometimes those trade-offs are totally fine, but sometimes they affect your trip more than you expected. Maybe you spend more time dealing with logistics or feel disconnected from where you are or miss out on moments that would have made the trip more meaningful. The goal isn't to avoid lower cost options, it's to ask, is this trade-off worth it for me? And that brings us to the most important question. Before you plan your next trip, ask yourself, how do I want this trip to feel? Not just where do I want to go? What do I want to do? But how do I want to feel while I'm there? Relaxed, energized, inspired, connected. Because when you're there, everything else becomes clearer. You naturally invest in what supports that feeling and let go of what doesn't. When you look at all this together, investing in your travel experience really comes down to one thing: being intentional with your choices. Not just how much you spend, but how you spend it. One question I hear a lot is, do I need to spend more to have a better trip? And the answer is no. But you do need to spend thoughtfully because the goal isn't more. The goal is alignment. At its core, travel isn't about the price tag. It's about the experience and the memories you take with you long after the trip is over. If you're planning a trip and trying to figure out where to invest your time and budget, or what would make the biggest difference for you, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to share your questions or experiences, and I may feature them in a future episode. Thanks for listening to Travel Thoughtfully, the podcast. At Travel Thoughtfully, our philosophy is simple: we plan, you experience. And next time, we'll talk about where your travel investment actually makes the biggest impact so you can make those decisions with more confidence. I'd love for you to join me.